Okay, so we are at Hop Brook in Holmdel. This is located right off of County Route 4, and if we zoom out here and turn around, you'll be able to see that is County Route 4 right in front of us, and right over there is Vonage, and you can see the campus ring road that goes around there. Let's see. Going up that way to the north, this direction is Holmdel Park. This is roughly east, so the water is out that way. And then, of course, back west, it'll get you over toward Freehold and then later on into Trenton and areas further west. However, this is our aircraft. It's a Cessna 172. Just sitting here on the grass field, quite obviously. First couple of things to keep in mind. Eventually, we will go over into this external view in order to take a look at some things from different vantage points as we're flying along. The instruments that you can see superimposed in the corners there. First of all, in the upper left, that's just a compass. You can see that we have our heading. That is in degrees out of the circle, so we're facing roughly east at 104 degrees around the compass, and obviously you can see the four cardinal directions around either side of each quadrant of the circle. The lower left, we've got airspeed, so when we're moving, that is actually the speed of the air that is running into the front of the aircraft. There are little ports along the front section of the fuselage, just behind where the engine is, that will give us our airspeed. They're actually measuring the air pressure that's coming in, and it's extrapolating our speed from that. To the left of that, we've got engine. The engine's stopped right now, but you'll see that we have a lever LVR indication there, and you can see the little white bug going around the circumference of the circle. That is our relative throttle position, this being full throttle at 100%, and then coming back down to 0, which will be idle power. The little pointer in the inner part of the circle, that will show our actual engine output, and we'll also get an RPM readout there once the engine is started. Fuel level, quite obviously, to the right of that. And then AOA, and then we'll have these green, yellow, and red colored bars going up there. That is angle of attack, AOA. So that is the relative pitch up or down of the aircraft relative to our current vector. So in other words, where we are flying forward through the air, where is our nose pointed in relation to that? They're important to keep tabs on that because the wings eventually will stop creating lift if that angle becomes too severe, and then you'll fall out of the sky. To the right-hand side of the screen, you can see we've got a number of indicators here. We have flaps. There are little control surfaces along the trailing edge of the wing that are used basically to extend the surface area of the wing rearward to allow it to generate more lift at lower speeds. Right now the flaps are fully retracted, and this is the nominal position for most phases of flight. For takeoff, we extend the flaps about halfway, and for landing, depending on what our landing speed is going to be, we can go all the way down to full flaps, which I believe is about 30 degrees on this aircraft. Trim, to the right of that, that is a very small level of adjustment that is made to the rear control surfaces here. These are called elevons, or elevators in this case. They control the pitch of the aircraft. What we're able to do with trim is we're able to dial in a little bit of upward or downward angle into the control surface back there to keep the plane straight and level without actually giving it control input. Obviously, we have altitude to the right of this. That is showing our altitude relative to barometric pressure right now. So showing just over 60 feet, showing 62 feet numerically back there. And then the VS, that is the vertical speed indicator. So in our rate of ascent or descent, you'll see the little pointer there go up or down. The numbers that you can see scrolling up and down, that is thousands of feet per minute. So that'll show you your rate of ascent or descent. Back into the cockpit. Everything is shut down at the moment. But the Cessna 172, it's been retrofitted with some newer instrumentation, so we've just got two screens in the front here, replacing most of the analog gauges for this aircraft. It's a very old aircraft, but a lot of them have now been retrofitted to have these Garmin G1000 GPS units, and on the right display we'll have a map, and on the left display we're going to have critical information about the aircraft. A lot of the information that we just talked about on the external screens, it's in here in the cockpit, and this is a more realistic representation of what would actually be available to the pilot. our little control yoke here, which we can hide for the sake of visibility for some of the controls here. Down here, these are circuit breakers and fuses. In case we were to lose systems in flight, we'd be able to take these out and replace them with spares. Below all that, to the left, this is our ignition key. Yeah, it's a piston engine. It's a four-cylinder, horizontally opposed piston engine. I believe it makes about 150 horsepower or so. Not a lot, not all that dissimilar from what you get in a lot of cars. But these are just panels, adjustments for the avionics panel, so the map display and our flight data display in terms of the screen brightness and contrast. Then over here we have got ourselves our light controls for our external lights. And then here are some controls for power in the cabin, as well as the pitot heat in case we get icing conditions, which we shouldn't get. Our main electrical bus right here in terms of battery and alternator power, and then power for our avionics, which is disarmed right now because the battery breaker is tripped. Our standby battery system there, which obviously works. And then our other display, our emergency locator beacon, which obviously works. Down here in the center stack, fuel tank selectors. This is our trim wheel. We use this to adjust the trim. That's our parking brake release. And then here, two handles. This red control, this is our mixture control, controls the ratio of fuel to air going into the engine. And then this is our throttle control, which is just like the throttle in a car, except you put it in position and it stays there. Down below, the pedals. It's not a gas and a brake. These are for the rudder. So if we go outside, and you take a look at the tail of the aircraft here, if I give us left rudder, you see the rudder deflects to the left, right rudder deflects to the right. We use this to make finer adjustments to our heading, but most of the time, turning in an aircraft is done with the control surfaces here on the wings. You can see the trailing edges of the wings that we have these two flaps going up or down. I'm commanding a left roll right now, so that's the relative positions for the control surfaces in a left roll, and then a right roll, of course, is the opposite. We talked about the elevators before, pitching up to raise the nose, and pitching down to lower the nose, and of course, all of your control surfaces, your pitch and your roll, used in conjunction to control all of the different maneuvers that are going to be required. Back to the cockpit. We can start to fire this thing up. So we need electrical power. So we'll turn on our battery master. So we have got ourselves our main display on right now. We just silenced a caution and warning there. It's warning me about low oil pressure, which of course is going to be the case because the engine is not running. So we have got ourselves one display on. We'll turn on avionics bus 1, and you can hear.
System test. Okay.
Yes, the system goes through a self-check, and then you can hear that whirring noise. It's one of the gyroscopes spooling up, which will run this display right here. This is our standby attitude indicator. This will show us nose up, nose down, and then bank angle as well on the wings. Avionics Master 2 comes on. Then our second display comes on, and our second gyroscope comes up. And there you go. You can see that we have got ourselves our engine controls now, or engine readouts, over here on the right-hand side. Up top, RPM. This is I believe this is going to be propeller RPM, which of course is going to be linked directly to the crankshaft on the engine. Fuel flow, below that. Oil pressure is flashing in red there. Oil temperature will be next. Exhaust gas temperature, vacuum pressure. This is exactly the same sort of measurement that you'd get from a mass airflow sensor on a car engine. Fuel quantity in our left and right tanks. Engine hours, and then our electrical volts, 24.1 volts on both buses. The analog gauges here, airspeed, quite obviously. That's our horizontal condition indicator. Nose up, nose down, and then bank left, bank right. And then our altimeter. Of course, we have all of those instruments doubled here electronically. Airspeed on the left, altitude on the right, heading down there, front and center, and then we have got a virtual horizontal situation indicator, HSI, showing nose level, and we're on the ground quite obviously. There's our map showing our current position. I can zoom out of this map if we want in real time so you can see where we are. Actually zoom out pretty far. Major airports coming up there, along with some major roadways. Atlantic City down there, KCY down there. Newark, JFK. And as we come back in, you'll start to see where we are. Very, very nice. Probably this level of zoom is going to be sufficient for us right now. You can start to see some of the Navasink estuaries coming in. Next thing to do is going to be to get the engine started. So we need to get some fuel into the engine. About 53%, whatever, in the mixture. Doesn't really matter all that much. We get our magnetos started. And we watch the RPM and the fuel flow. And we kick the starter. There it is, just like a car. We'll get our mixture to full rich. The engine is running. RPM 650 there. Fuel flow is barely there, but of course the engine is running, so we know we have it. Oil pressure is just a little bit low, but that's fine because it's warming up and we're on idle. Oil temperature is coming up. Exhaust gas temperature will start to come up as the engine warms up, and so we start to throttle up with higher loads. Vacuum pressure is fine, and of course we have our fuel level. Next thing we can do is turn on our alternator. And you'll see that the electrical system now shows 28 volts on both systems. We shut down our battery master. You can see that now we are running off of the alternator. We should have all of our instruments running now off of the engine entirely. We can turn on some lights, so we can turn on our nav strobe lights. Our beacon we can turn on as well. And that's all well and good. We'll test our mags next. These are two redundant ignition systems. In case one should fail, we have another one that is capable of running the engine all by itself, and we'll test that right now. We'll test the left mag, and you can see the engine RPM drops off by about 50 RPM, 60 RPM, down to 590 on the left mag. The right mag, about the same, 580 RPM indicated, that's fine. And then we go back up to both, and the RPM starts to come back up to 640, 650 RPM. That's fine. We only need one mag operable in order to run the engine, but ideally you want both. Throttle response on the engine. All of that is fine. And we're back down to idle. We'll get our flaps out for takeoff. Flaps use a bit of power in order to get them down. They're all electrically actuated, so we'll use the battery to boost our electrical system. No issues with that. Flaps should be down to 10 degrees. And you can see externally, you can see the flaps have now come down. We can extend the flaps totally. And that's 30 degrees of flaps. And then retracting them all the way again. You see how that control surface works. So we want the flaps down to about 10 degrees for takeoff. That's ideal for the sort of conditions that we're in. And there they are, flaps 10. Next thing to do, we will get our yoke back into position so it looks a little bit better. We can release our parking brake. There it is. Now we can take off. So we just put the throttle all the way forward. And we start rolling. You can see the airplane wants to turn left a little bit. That is because of the direction of rotation of the engine. It's actually imparting a torque to the rest of the aircraft, so we have to counter that torque a bit. And we can pitch up, and we're flying. No retractable landing gear on this aircraft, so it's just a matter of flying it up and not worrying so much about the landing gear. Bringing the flaps up. That was me being a little bit overzealous with my control inputs, making an adjustment with my fingers there. But that's fine. And we're up and away. So flying roughly east, basically runway heading. In a moment, things will start to look a little bit familiar. Our camera position down now, and we can get a little bit better review outside. That is the Lucent building. What is now Bell Works, I guess they call it. But there it is. See the water feature in the front. No townhouses here yet, though. That's something that they have not added in, evidently. However, you should be able to see the water tower. And there it is. The representation of the water tower, anyway. Not particularly accurate. But there is a water tower there in reality. So you do see it. Crawford's Corner Road, of course, passing to our right. We'll follow Crawford's Corner Road up a little bit. Dead ahead, you can see the high school, SAT school, and the post office police station complex. Over on this side, if we drop the right wing a little, or drop it a lot, you'll see the Art Center. Here's the Parkway. And the exit 116 area. There's the high school, fields in the back. The police station back there. The state trooper barracks as well. And then there is the Art Center, Vietnam Memorial. And then behind the Art Center, you can see that we have got ourselves the little observatory where Bell Labs used to do a lot of their observation work, testing for different comms systems, and all kinds of cool stuff they did. But there is the Art Center, quite obviously. The parking lots, you can see generally what things look like. And there's also a good view of the Vietnam Museum. You can really zoom down into that. Looks good. See some cars on the parkway as well. Down over in this direction, we can see in this area some houses over here on Holmdel Road. You can see the Nokia lab. And then right in this section, sun glare a little bit, but there is the horn antenna. It was used by Penzias and Wilson, I believe. They made the first ever documented detection of the cosmic microwave background. Effectively, that proved the expansion of the universe. Back in the late 60s, I believe they did that. I'll drop down pretty sharply here, because the next bit There we go. Sometimes it takes a few seconds to get everything to smooth out again in terms of the video. Very, very, very taxing on a lot of the computer system resources here, so sometimes it has to catch up with itself again. Some glitzy and glamorous neighborhoods that you never knew existed. Decent detail with a lot of the houses. Yep. You can really get a sense of sorts of stuff that your neighbors are up to. We're back here at Vonage. And from the air, that's Hot Brook. Give you a sense of where we just took off from. Right below us. So Vonage, and we're basically following CR4 up the hill now.
500. 500.
This is Route 34 north, pretty sure of. One of the parks down this way. Not entirely sure which one it is. That's the Lucent building. And Vonage. A little bit of altitude here. At 1,500 feet. In the Route 35 corridor. Actually, the Route 34 corridor. And the Parkway. Out through there, I'm pretty sure that is 34 north into Matawan and Aberdeen, Strathmore. Yep, there's the school with the baseball field in front. Parkway. Beer Street School out there, the hospital. I do want to get over Homeland Park. There's the Arts Center. The high school. There, I believe, is the pond. Yep, that's Route 34, southbound. Yep. That is the pond. Sledding Hill Pavilion. Main parking lot, farm. Parking lot closer to the playground and the base of the cross-country trail. Obviously the big field, where I had a case of pilot error in my youth. Up the hill. There's the road.
500. 500.
Up at the top section, there's the bowl. Very nice, and you get a really good sense of just how close you are to the high school area. That's the bowl. And right over the trees and coming down the ridge, there's the school. And the cut through to get onto 116 southbound. And there you go. Daylight is starting to fade here. This is mostly a VFR airplane, meaning visual flight rules. The other characterization of general aviation flight is IFR, instrument flight rules. VFR, of course, relies on direct visualization of what is going on outside. Weather conditions are absolutely fine for this, but it's going to be getting dark before too long. This is where instruments are helpful. But trying to come back into an unlit airfield is a little bit tricky. This is... trying to figure where this is. That's definitely Route 35. Where's that Route 36? That might be 36 at this point. This Middletown? No. Too far north for Middletown, I would think, unless it's... Oh, I think it is. That down by Chuck E. Cheese? Or are we still a bit far north of this? Not totally sure. Zoom in a little bit. That's Lowe's. Yeah, it might have been Middletown. Remember, distances are really compressed when you start to get higher. There's the Holiday Inn. And our house behind, buried in the trees. We are keeping up with the traffic flow pretty much, though. The Red Oak Diner, still here. Chase Bank. Kmart Plaza. Fridays. Wine Academy. There's Fleetwood. Little development back there. And of course, Hazlitt Avenue. Get into Brooklawn Drive back there. And a train station. Real cool. There's the pool. Just underneath the wing pylon. There it is, visible again. Very nice. Train tracks in Bethany Road. Very cool. I do want to head out to Leonardo Pier. And Sandy Hook, if at all possible. Keep going straight out, we'll intersect both of them on the way. That's Route 36. See the old Bradley's back there. Patco Lake, I think. Up there is Keyport, in the waterfront, way up that way. And then here is Keensburg. Real cool. Coming out this way, Leonardo Pier is going to be coming in, I think. Yeah. Should be visible about 3 o'clock. Yep. Bank off in this direction for a moment. And you can see the augmented view ahead with the instruments. You can actually fly the plane just off of the display. Yep, that is the Leonardo Pier. And you can even see how it's separating off into its trident shape there. 3 main docks for the Navy ships to go to. The whole rationale of this is you can load and offload high-yield munitions from ships without getting them too close to shore. Very cool. Start to bring our flaps down. We can get some descent rate going. There's the hook, quite obviously. It's very nice looking north. There's the Verrazano Bridge and the mouth of New York Harbor. See all the way up to Manhattan. And Brooklyn, Staten Island up in the north. Long Island, obviously. Really get a sense of just how close everything really is. Some little sandbars and islets out there. And there is the hook, basically the start of the New Jersey, Delaware Barrier Islands. Up at the north end is North Beach and the Coast Guard Station. Coming in on Fort Hancock. Quite a few of the houses are here. And I believe some of the base infrastructure for the Coast Guard station. Definitely Fort Hancock. See some of the buildings. Someplace around here is the parking lot with the I hope safed Nike missile. Should be right around here now. Yep. One of the cannons. Coming down toward the south end of the hook. Loop around and head up the beach. Parking areas. Sun getting fairly low on the horizon. You can see how it's glinting off of the bay there. Slow down a touch. There's the surf. See the wave action there. And the north end of the hook is right here.
500.
You fly up the bay a little bit. Directly ahead of us by a couple miles will be the bridge that carries Route 36. You can see on our map display that we are just hugging the inside coast of the hook. All the little triangular shapes you can see on our map, those are navigational beacons. Obviously, this area is very important to 3 big-time international airports. So lots and lots of navigational aids for the airliners. There is the bridge starting to come into view. And just all the way down the coast there, see down really all the way almost to Long Branch. And we're only at 1,000 feet up. Here's Mount Mitchell. The town area of the Highlands. There is the Route 36 bridge that leads you onto the hook. Or you can go south into Seabright, then further south into Ocean Township, Long Branch. We're at 600 feet. You can get a sense of the height of the land around here. It's about 500 feet in its highest point, which will be the Twin Lights, which should be right here. Not sure if they're recreated. There they are. Look at that. Twin Lights. Trying to slow down so you can get a better look at them. There they are. Not perfect, but clearly recognizable. Altitude is about 330 feet. That is off sea level by our barometer setting, remember. There's the bridge. Going back around. There are the lights.
500.
Very cool. We'll get some altitude back. Get some speed back. See the sun starting to shine through some clouds there. And as we said before about this airplane being a VFR airplane, we are going to have to think about getting back to Hopbrook, as we have got about, I would say, 30 minutes of good sunlight left. NJ72 is the designation for Hopbrook, so I will NJ72, there it is. You can see our little vector there, our triangle vector, NJ72 in the lower left of our map display on the right-hand screen. So that is where we're flying toward. Obviously, we're flying perpendicular right now, but we will turn left, and we will start to get ourselves back over. There's the sun, and look at this. You can actually see a little bit of mirage effect, a little bit of refraction. As the sun passes through the clouds, the graphics aren't quite sure what to do with it, but you can actually see some distortion in the sun. There it goes. Look at that. That's a mirage effect caused by the relative air density at different altitudes, wind speeds, filtering through the clouds and all of that, but you can actually see that. Different atmospheric ducts at the sun. Light passes through relative to our observer location, and you can see how the image of the sun is distorted. And again, all of that is done in real time by the simulator, computing all of this with the angles and the atmospheric conditions and all kinds of stuff. And you see the Rowden Bay there reflecting all that light. That's wild. That's, again, it is real-time simulation of all of this. However, we got to complete our turn over to the southwest. We'll level off here. 2720 or so in terms of altitude. Zoom out some. Can fly this heading for a little while. There's the sun again. You can still see the distortion going on with the refraction through the different layers. That is absolutely fantastic. I didn't know that the simulator had that capacity, but it's actually making these optical calculations in real time to show you the sun setting, going through the different cloud layers and the different air density layers, which is why you get that smeared, distorted image. That's absolutely wild. NJ72 should be about 12 o'clock. There is the Rowden Bay. And we'll be looking for the school and for Vonage as landmarks. Pretty sure that's the parkway. Is that the Art Center? Nope, that's the Lucent building. NJ72 will be coming up on us before you know it. So we gotta get some altitude loss here. I think I have the field in sight. Runway 28.
November Juliet 72 traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha 2 miles east 1,200 feet inbound to land runway 28.
So what we have to do is get ourselves oriented here relative to Vonage, I guess. Use that as a landmark, use CR4 as a landmark. Okay. Here's Vonage and CR4. And that's Hop Brook. Right, so we're on an upwind leg. That's what I mean about this being a VFR airplane. It's just a grass field, no runway lights or anything like that.
November Juliet 72 traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha is on upwind runway 28.
Be coming in to land. Coming down.
November Juliet 72 traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha is on final runway 28 to land.
Good enough. Make sure we clear the expensive houses. And we're down. A little bit bumpy here. But we are down. Parking brake set. We'll kill the engine. Engine stop. That all looks good. Very nice. Shut down our avionics buses. Alternator bus. And battery. And just before the sun goes behind the trees. So there it is. Very cool. You can see, obviously, all that filtered sunlight going through all of that atmosphere, giving it that fire gold color. All the reflections and shadows handled in real time, of course. Very, very nice. So yeah, there it was, a little flight around the area. Not too bad. I gotta say, the fact that you can use real-world landmarks to navigate and you can pick stuff out and it's location correct and it looks good enough, very recognizable in most cases. Very, very, very interesting. Awesome.